Next up, I have grouped in names. This is M. M is a writer, a mother, and a creative misfit. When she isn't chasing her children or chasing the thoughts running rampant in her mind, she's usually hiding with her nose in a book. And she is no stranger to this stage, so let's welcome up M. Come on up.
Thank you, Katarine, for being smarter than me and figuring out we can actually pick these up, because I did not the first couple times, and I sat hunched over trying to tell my stories. I started the last week of my freshman year of high school convinced that the summer I turned 15 was going to be the best summer of my life. Coming off the high of a year of academic excellence, I had a letter in my hand that was going to change my entire summer. After months of applications and interviews and financial aid forms, of gathering resumes and begging and pleading and letters of recommendation, I had been accepted into a summer science camp and had a full scholarship. For once, I wasn't going to spend the entire summer in my mom's crappy single wide. I'd get to sleep somewhere with air conditioning. And so it was with glee that I exited the school bus and ran up the driveway. And I was so glad to see my mom's car in the yard. And I went into the house and I handed her the letter. And I said, "Mama, I got in." And she started reading it. And I was looking through the brochure and telling her about all the amazing things I was going to get to do that summer, about the laboratories we were going to go to and the rides in the glass bottom boat. And I didn't tell her about my hope that the gender dynamics of a summer science camp in South Carolina meant I might actually meet a good-looking guy despite my own appearance. So when she stopped me and said, "Well, this is the week of your birthday," I shrugged it off. "Well, yeah, Mom, but we can do something before or after that. I mean, there's a ride in a glass-bottom boat. We're going to go to the salt marshes." "No, Emily, you can't go. That's the same week as church camp." "But, Mom, I got a scholarship. This is going to look so good on my college applications. I have to go to this." "Emily, you've missed too much church already. You can't go to this summer camp. You have to go to church camp with the youth group." "But, Mom, no. And I sat there and cried as she called the camp coordinator listed on the letter and my guidance counselor and told them that while we were honored to be selected and for the scholarship, I would be unable to attend. And it was with tears in my eyes that I went up to my science teacher, who was my hero, the next day and told him, "She's sending me to Southern Baptist boot camp." And he smiled sort of sadly at me. He said, "Well, I'm sure she's doing what she thinks is best." But all the time she had made me late for scientific decathlons. The weekend she accidentally left me at a hotel instead of picking me up from an earth science competition. The week she accidentally took my poster board for science fair to her boyfriend's house and didn't bring it. We both sort of wondered if it was really what she thought was best or there was some sabotage going on. The summer started out in a state of warfare in my household, with my older sister and my younger brother stuck between my mother and I. "Oh, Emily, it's going to be fun. It's going to be great," she told me. "I'm going to take you shopping. You need new clothes. It'll be your birthday present." It's not really a birthday present when you've outgrown everything you own. And it was with resentment I stood there as she measured every tank top strap to make sure it was at least 2 inches wide. And it was with anger that I raised my arms and squared my shoulders so she could make sure none of my buttons pulled too tight. And it was seething fury I did every damn fingertip check to make sure my shorts weren't too short. And I decided I was going to sabotage this. The one thing I love about my mother, despite all of her faults, is that she has never limited my access to information. As long as I didn't stack up a whole bunch of library fees and fines, as long as I kept on budget at the bookstore, I could have any book I ever wanted, and she wouldn't complain. And so it was through books I decided through illicit and compromising material that I was going to sabotage myself at Southern Baptist Boot Camp. When I purchased a copy of The Feminine Mystique and The Naked Ape to take to Southern Baptist Boot Camp, as an almost 15-year-old girl, she didn't bat an eye as she ran that debit card. The books on human sexuality and evolution and the critical examination of Darwin's Origin of the Species from the library, she didn't notice, she didn't care. She helped me pack them in my tote bag and load them in her car. And so it was in the foggy morning of my 15th birthday that we stood there waiting to board the church bus. And I turned to her and I said, "Mama, I know it's too late for science camp, but can I just stay home? Please, I'll read. I'll clean the house, I'll do the laundry. If it gets too hot, I'll go down to the creek, but please, can I just stay home? I don't want to go to church camp." And when I think about my 15th birthday, I always hear the snap of her hand against my face before I hear the sting. And I feel her breath against my face as she hugs me and tells me, "If you do anything to embarrass me, I will kick your ass back to the kingdom come." As much as I wanted to defy my mother, and as much as I intended to, even if it got me an ass kicking, I miscalculated. I was a good kid. I was a bookie kid. I was not one to cause a lot of trouble. And so while I had counted on the people who were supposed to be supervising me to realize that this was illicit and inappropriate material that was directly in contradiction to the covenants of the Southern Baptist Convention of South Carolina, I had not counted on the problems my peers and age mates would cause at church camp. I thought somebody would notice what I was reading, but I think they were just too damn excited to see somebody sit down and shut up. So while my roommates were having their rap CDs snapped in half and being assigned an extra 30 minutes of chapel every morning, I was reading Darwin's Origin of the Species. And while they were sneaking out to go swimming in the lake with boys, I was reading The Feminine Mystique. And when they were getting hauled in from swimming in the lake with boys and having leeches pried off of them, I was reading about biodiversity and the niches that really allow things to flourish. I'm not going to say church camp was all bad. Me and the other misfits made some friends. I really bonded with the guy who thought that the Masons were a satanic cult. He had some good music, and I didn't have a CD player. And there was a girl who broke my heart who wore a Star of David on her necklace in defiance of her youth leader who had swastikas tattooed on his back. She introduced me to Janis Joplin. And so after a week at summer camp that did not even have air conditioning, after a week of being told to stand up, sit down, pray, shout, after a week of thinking about the psychological effects of groupthink and influences every time everyone shouted ecstasy and hosannas in church, I found myself getting off the bus in time for Sunday evening services at my home church with my youth group. And inexplicably found myself receiving an award for excellence in Christianity and service from my youth leaders and counselors as the only camper who had not received a demerit. It's been a number of years, and I'm still sort of angry about science camp. And I can't help but wonder if my mother had sent me to science camp, if my faith in religion would have stayed, or if, like my relationship with her, it was doomed from the start. Thank you.